Welcome back, kids, to another episode of Sit Crooked, Talk Straight. I am Katie Myers.
And I'm Leanne Jameson.
And we are back again for another episode. If you're new to the show, welcome. We're glad you're here. Get ready for some cursing. Get ready for some real talk. If there are kiddos around, let's do earmuffs or headphones so they can't hear, because there's no telling. But part of that is our design, because we want it to be real and raw. And sometimes a well-placed buck is like as real and as raw as you can get. And we're going to be talking today, not about the F word, but
we have an episode on all the F words.
We do. We have an episode on it. But we had a listener, a dear friend of both Leanne and I, who suggested an episode because we've done a lot of episodes about what we wish we knew and what would we tell our younger self and what would our younger self tell us. But there's a spin on it today. Leanne, tell us what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we're actually talking about all the things we're glad we didn't know. Because I remember, with the women that I work with, it's everything that I do is designed to find your life purpose, to align with your life purpose. And for some of those women, it's then building businesses. And that's what the conversation, that's where she is currently in building her business. And she was just like, I'm really, how did she even put it? She was just like, I wish it was just like more of like all the things that I wish I didn't know, I was like, that sounds like a really good podcast session.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, that would be great. Could you do that?
Wow.
She's like, because she was like, I'm glad I didn't know a lot of these things, because like, would you have, moved through? Would you have actually done it? Would you have moved?
Would it have freaked you out? Would it have freaked you out and stopped you in your tracks? Mm-hmm. Or would you have still moved forward knowing? I love it. And I when Leanne and I talked about this last time we talked, and she brought it up, and I was like, yeah, here's our episode. Everything. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad that I didn't know all the things I didn't know. Till next time. But in all seriousness, since I've had like this week to kind of think about it, it got me thinking about like the idea of regrets. And like, if I had known now what I knew then, would I have done things differently? And I try to live out of the space of no regrets, right? Like I am where I am today, and I am so grateful for all the highs and the lows. Do I wish at times that things had been maybe different or easier, or maybe, but I wouldn't want the outcome to be any different today. Yeah. And so I think with a lot of things, like, I don't think we've said her name, but shout out Sarah. Hey, hey girl. Hey, we have been in conversations. Like, I know her process, or at least the periphery of some of her process is starting her jam, and like how beautiful that has been. And just,
if you want to see it, it's Empowered Healing Practices. Find her on YouTube.
Yeah. Find her on YouTube, Empowered Healing Practices, meditation and
healing,
mindfulness, and through like healing, just this beautiful. We probably need to have her on the episode sometime soon.
Yes, we will.
But I don't know that I can point to. Well, no, I get this. This is the like both and, right? When I became CEO of Talbot, that was hell on some days. And I learned so much about myself. So I'm glad that I didn't know that it was going to be so flippin' hard and that it would take me to my knees towards the end. Because I learned and grew so much from it. Yeah. So I think the same thing because that also brought me, I'm the type that I need to be often brought to my knees before I realize like, oh, what I'm doing isn't working.
Right.
Like, I'm stubborn and a slow learner and resilient AF, which means I will stay in something way longer than I technically needed to, and so I would have stayed probably just complacent and mediocre and like right where I was for a really long time had I not had those experiences that challenged me so much, that brought me to the place where I quit And then I was able to birth this life that I live right now, which is completely different from my life 2 years ago, 3 years ago, definitely 4 years ago.
Right.
And so, yeah, like on one hand, I am so grateful that I didn't know those things. And I think that leads me to the place of, I don't have a lot of regrets because, like, had I known, I might have just been like, no, thanks. That's not for me. I don't want to go through that. But that's where the beauty is.
Right, right. I was just thinking of something too, of just, because I've been trying to wrap my head around it. It's like all the things I wish I didn't know, like how hard it was going to be, or actually when I start thinking, because it is, right? And I get into this debate a lot with my entrepreneur friends, right? Where it's just, they're like, oh, these kids that just think they're going to start. I was just talking to somebody who was a bit, older and seasoned, I will say, in the coaching industry, and running a business and running a successful business with her husband and everything. And I met with her the other day, and she was like, these kids just think that it's just so easy to just start a business, and this is hard, and it's ups and downs, and there's resiliency, and there's this and there's that. And I said, yes, and like it's also quite amazing. I guess her experience is much different than mine of what she went through, of course, right? And I run into this a lot where a lot of the entrepreneurs that I know, they're like, it's really hard. It's really fucking hard. And I hate saying that over and over, because it's almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy of like that's your reality then it is going to be hard. What I think is like hard is the internal work that we do in order to get there, and the faith that is needed to like continue to move forward when you're not sure of the outcome, when, right, maybe something didn't work out. But anyways, where I'm going with this is like, I'm actually glad I didn't know how great it was going to be on this side, because then maybe I wouldn't have gone through all of the healing and all of the back and forth, and like the dipping my toe in and out and stuff like that. Because when I think about it, it was like the fear that kept me, or like, all the limiting beliefs that, gosh, I had to break through in order to get exactly where I am in this space. Like, I think about our journey to rejuvenation. I think about the times that I started in group practice, the times that I started my own practice, like all of that. And those were all lessons I needed to learn to be able to fully commit and to see the beauty on the other side, right? So yeah, I'm sort of glad I didn't know how fucking amazing it was gonna be.
Well, I'm hearing you say, like, faith. Had you had the playbook written out or the crystal ball to show you, faith would not have been required. And that is so much of both of our spiritual journeys of like, I don't know what the business is going to look like, but I have faith that like God, the universe, the divine goddess, all of the higher power that is beyond my scope has me in the palm of its hand. And if I trust and believe that, that forces me to deal with what you just talked about around the fear and the self-limiting beliefs and the low energy vibration and the potential self-fulfilling prophecy. If I don't go through that struggle, I don't get the gifts of the lesson.
Right. And I wonder if that's what I'm feeling with other entrepreneurs, right? Is like, not that they didn't go through struggle, but maybe they didn't move through this like same internal experiences, right? That I know I had to go through to create that. And I'm not saying that they don't have faith or anything like that, but it's very different when somebody is going by the playbook, right? The playbook that's made, and just like, then I have to do this, and then I have to do this. And I see the, or maybe I feel it, I think it's a little bit of both, because I am highly sensitive. So like to different energies and stuff like that. But like, I feel the angst that they go through. I feel the tight, like this like all fear and like, oh, and like grind and like this and that. And I'm just like, this is supposed to be done differently. Or let me rephrase, like go back and say, I'm doing it differently. I want to do it differently. They have their journey, they have their space, and we're in a time of transition of what entrepreneurship looks like. And I often find myself the odd man out with that. It's so interesting. It's so interesting.
Well, I love it that you have that perspective and like kind of the odd man out, but like that's such a gift to not be part of the like status quo and part of the like mainstream, because that was part of your vision in the first place, was to break free from all of that and to help others break free from all that. So you're going through that process, and I it's kind of like there are different ways of doing it. You have been receptive and have chosen to allow yourself to go through it in this very authentic and internal journey and like wrestling with like faith and those things. But that has brought you to a different place. Others could choose to allow themselves to go through it that way, but it's a choice, right? Like all of it's a choice about like, I don't know that there's a right or a wrong way. I think the way that you have chosen works for you, and thank God, because I think about that trip in Sedona when we were sitting on the top of that mountain and all of us were gathered together and you were off in the distance and we all were looking over and like the landscape, and someone was like, I can't remember who said it, I wish I remembered. They're like, man, Leanne did all of this to like create this, like, right, to bring us, we're sitting here today in this incredible space, location, retreat, time in our lives. And I said to her, I said, y'all, if Leanne hadn't done the hard work that she did, she wouldn't be standing right there where she is, and we wouldn't be sitting right here where we are. And like, that's that's just another reminder. I know. So much love.
Like, I didn't know about that combo.
But it's such a reminder of everyone's journey is so personal, and you don't know why sometimes your journey may look a little bit different. Yeah. But if we trust and have faith and stay the course and stay in tune with those higher knowings, the intuition, higher power, God, goddess, divinity, if we stay connected with that, we will know that even when it's hard, we are right where we are supposed to be.
Right.
And again, like you said, like, I'm glad too that I didn't know a lot of the outcome. I mean, I had dreams about it. Like I had like, right. Like we had the big vision and like,
right. But we don't think about like the day to day, like, what am I going to go through to get there?
No way. No one could have seen that part coming. And so I guess like for anybody who's listening, who's kind of like, whether this applies to like business or family or relationships or whatever
dimension in your life. Yeah.
Whatever applies to you, embracing, I think, part of the unknown, even when it's really sometimes painful. My greatest gifts have come from, good or bad, fortunate or unfortunate, it is how I roll, have come from my hardest, most challenging moments in life.
Yes.
That is where the gifts come from for me.
Yeah.
Does it always have to be that way? I don't think so. That's just how my experience has been. And so that's where I'm kind of like, where you talk about the breakdown before the breakthrough. And I often say like iron sharpens iron. When we are going through that refining process and like the old is being like stripped away, that is so that there's space for the new to come in. I mean, the leaves have to fall in the winter.
Right.
But guess what? They come back spring and summer. And that is the journey. So yeah, I guess like embracing the unknown, stepping into faith, not worrying so much about getting lost in the details,
Mm-hmm.
which goes back to like trusting the greater process, but also knowing like there will be details that need to be taken care of that you don't know now.
Absolutely. And those are the things, again, it's just, I'm so glad I didn't know how great it was going to be. I know that I'm grateful that I didn't know how my relationships were going to change, if that makes sense, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Like this is one of the biggest things that really does, like when you get down into it, at least for me, I'll speak for me, is that I had so much resistance internal that I wasn't even aware of, and that's why I have mentors, and that's why I have coaches, and that's why I have therapists and stuff like that, to help walk me through it, because that's what held me back. I had a fear of losing the relationships that I had created. My husband, my mother, my siblings, right? We're seen in a certain way. And again, it's so beautiful on the other side. Like, our relationships are deeper. They have more boundaries. They are more honest. They are, right? All of these things. And like, I'm glad I didn't know how it was going to break down, because I may have stayed, like, to your point, right? Of just like at the CEO, when you were talking about being a CEO of Talbot, of just like, I would have stayed there, if I don't know how you put it. If I would have known. Yeah.
If I had known how hard it was going to be, I would not have gotten into it.
Oh, yeah.
While I was in it, had I known that my breakdown, because that was like the beginning of my mental health, like my nervous breakdown, whatever you want to call it, my depression and anxiety, like taking grip, had I known that was going to be part of like a pivotal, like, turning point and catalyst, I would have avoided that at all costs. And I would have just kept my head down, and I would have stayed, because I stayed at Talbot the first time for too long. I stayed at Riverman for too long. I always stay in these scenarios, and I'll reverse that. I have a history of staying in scenarios where I'm uncomfortable, not in a growth kind of way, but in a like I'm stagnant kind of way. But I fear what's on the other side. And so I'm just like, that I'll dance with the devil I know, not with the devil I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned if the devil I don't know was actually exactly what I needed.
It was actually the angel of.
It was actually the angel, and oh my gosh, the devil that I was dancing with was not what I needed. The devil that I didn't know was not actually the devil. It was the angel of growth. And that was what catapulted me into this life that I live right now, which, again, if you look back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, my life looks nothing like.
Yeah.
And so I just, it's kind of like, it's perspective is everything. And we can't have hindsight until we've gone through something. I joke that like my crystal ball's broken. I actually bought a crystal ball from the Wishy store. And so I have a crystal ball. I'm playing with it. I don't know how to I'm trying to connect with it. But so my joke about my crystal ball's broken, I don't know what the future holds, doesn't hold true anymore because my crystal ball is not broken. I digress. My intuition and my connection with God is not broken.
Yes.
And so if I can stay there, I don't have to worry about the things that I know or don't know.
Right.
I don't need to know. I don't need to.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I think about buying into the fear too, that surrounds us, right? It's having that trust, knowing that we're taken care of. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to look pretty. Like most of our breakdowns, like my breakdowns are messy as fuck.
Messy AF. It's brutal. It is ugly. I mean, you talk about like an ugly cry. It's like the ugliest, like messiest breakdown.
I think about like the chaos that I might leave. And I, luckily I again, it's like the relationships, going back to the relationships of like, that's like mass destruction. I'm like, blah. It's much better now that, I know what's going on. Right. But in the beginning, again, I'm glad I didn't know how crazy, like there were some really hard times and hard conversations that needed to be had that I was avoiding. I always knew, but I was avoiding because, I just, I'm a people pleaser. I don't want people to be mad at me.
I know. It's so hard. You're a recovering people pleaser.
I know.
And have done a fuck ton of work around that. And a real testament and example and role model to others who also struggle with, because there's so many of us that struggle with people pleasing. I mean, we're created, and this is, I was gonna say, this is probably a totally different episode, but like we're conditioned from birth to, as women, be caregivers and caretakers, and to give and to put our needs second or last. And so like breaking that mold is really fucking hard. And oh damn, is it not worth it? Like it is, it is 1000% worth whatever struggle it takes you to get to that point, because of how beautiful it is and how free it is and how authentic you get to live and how deeper the relationships are. Everything that you described a minute ago, like the boundaries and the honesty and the depth and the, genuine authenticity.
And I think that's like in all aspects, in all relationships, right? It's not just external relationships. I think about the relationship with myself, of being honest and authentic and genuine and, having the hard conversations with myself.
Same, girl. I mean, if there were like schizophrenics, like having conversations with ourselves, like, hello, hi, my name's Katie. I'm having those hard conversations with myself on the daily.
Yeah.
And I'll say most of us are. There's a whole lot of us though that are avoiding those conversations. True. And just get settled in and will put the blinders on and pretend that like, no, everything's fine.
Yes.
Because I've done that. I've done it. I have lived in this almost false narrative, this like made up land of like, everything's okay. Everything's okay.
Right?
It's
good enough. Good enough.
The wheels are fucking falling off my car, but like, I'm like, yeah, no, everything's great. I haven't
one time.
I haven't
literally.
I haven't told the truth to a single person in my life, but it's going to be okay. Everything's fine. Fine. The acronyms are fine.
How can we tell the truth if we're lying to ourselves? How can we tell the truth to anybody else?
Well, and if you are saying that everything is fine, that fun acronym that we have for that is FINE stands for fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotionally unstable. So you go ahead and be fine. And when somebody asks you how you're doing, you're like, I'm fine.
I know. I always tell people, I'm like, you want to reconsider that word?
Let's unpack that. How are you really? That requires honesty.
It does. So
yeah,
I guess, all the things that I wish I didn't know. Sometimes it is. It's how hard the conversations were going to be, how much work it was going to take to get me here. Because again, I like the easy way. I like fun. I like play. I like, all those things.
You're a yellow.
Which I know, which I get to do now though, right? So it's glad I didn't know that. Glad I didn't know how amazing it was going to be on the other side, because again, I needed to go through all of that. I needed those lessons to be able to, and that's what life always gives us if we choose to see it that way, is what is the lesson that I can take from this that is preparing me for that next level, that is preparing me for even more genuine relationships and joy and passion in my life, and all of it. So that's everything that I wish I wouldn't have known, or I didn't know, or how did we put this?
We've said it a couple of different ways. We're going to have to figure out how we title this, because we've said it a couple of different ways. But the overarching theme is having faith, staying the course, connecting intuition, but also heart with higher power, and then embracing all of the parts of it, because I believe that all of the parts of it serve a purpose. Mm-hmm. At least it has in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely. So
yeah,
we're here if you want support. We've been through it. We've done it.
If the wheels are falling off, call me. Been there, done that.
Oh my gosh. So Sarah, if there's anything else that maybe we didn't touch on for you,
Let us
or
know.
with any of you, I hope that this made sense, truly, right? It's like, it was sort of, in my mind, it was sort of mushy. So I don't know if it came out all mushy. I was just like, I don't know, because it was a hard one. You know, like you said in the beginning, it's like everything. I'm glad I didn't know everything. You know, and I'm so glad for everything, right? So yeah, it's always, you know, both and. So
Isn't it though?
Yes.
So many shades of gray.
Oh, so yes, we love doing these, having these conversations about things that you ask for, things that you ask about, things that you're curious about, things that you are maybe even currently going through. This is actually something, shout out to my WINK people. It's the Women Inspired by Networking and Collaboration. It's a local networking group for women here in the Buffalo area. I'm hoping the plan is to spread out, but they have they started doing like these anonymous cards of like what you like, questions that you have that you might be struggling with, because maybe we don't feel comfortable enough to open up yet. Maybe we don't, because we're all going there as businesswomen, people thinking that, you know, we need to present a certain way. I'm one of them too, where I was just like, I don't know, should I? I mean, like, it was a whole thing, but
yeah.
it was so, like, what I have seen from people doing that is so much passion, so much community, so much growth together. And like, we're all in this together. We're not supposed to pretend that everything is fine. And, you know, so we can talk about those struggles, but we can also talk about the gifts from those struggles. We can also talk about the joy that gets to come, or how our mindset of like, if you keep on saying, you know, how hard it is, and, you know, all of that, like how that is your reality, and that's not living. And this is something that I come into face to face with, of just like, that's not living in denial. I'm not living in denial. I know that it's hard, but I don't think it's the hard that is similar, right? The internal like workings of hard. Not like when I hear people talking about the hard of like, you know, going into recession and going into this and this, like that. Anyways, I'm going on a tangent now. So we want to hear from you. Point was, it's really cool to be able to hold space and to have these conversations, because we are in this together. We are supposed to be in this together, and we're supposed to grow together. So I always say that old quote that I heard forever ago, that was, you know, we go further together. So please reach out. Just like I love having these conversations when people reach out and say, hey, I was thinking about this, you know, this is what I really would love to know.
Love it. Keep it coming.
Yes, keep it coming. We love having these conversations. So until next time, keep, you know, stay in faith, stay connected to yourself, right? Let your light shine. Know that you have a light. Know that you are a light. And always stay curious, stay compassionate. So until next time, we'll see you. Mwah.
Mwah.